Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Welcome to Midnight Mandela. How is everybody doing today? Hope you had a good week. Yeah, it's been kind of fast, not as fast as some of my weeks. I see you guys are talking about that new thing from, was it Threads, the new Twitter copy? We heard the new Twitter like thing from Zuckerberg is not letting people delete it if you still delete the app. The Instagram will be deleted too. I don't know anything about that. That is interesting. I don't have any interest in going on Threads. I think it's just going to be like for sort of Democrat narrative believers only, and I like to see more variety, so I'm not really interested in lots of censorship and no, thank you. I mean, I think there's already so many options for that, like YouTube and every place else other than Twitter, that I don't really see a need for it. But if this is actually the case, Shari, and maybe people can double check on that, because somehow I would not be that surprised, though. There are a lot of people complaining, crying for not being able to delete the app. Well, yeah, I would definitely I would definitely be very careful, because I think some people might be interested in just putting it on there just to check it out and laugh at it, and they may not have any plans to really actually go on there that much. And if it's going to be all of this hassle, it'd be very good to know in advance. People say it's linked in with other Facebook apps. Oh, JoJo's is on. Hey, how are you doing? Yeah, I have not heard that. I've been trying to dial back my social media use so that I don't spend a million hours on there all day. So I'm not quite as up on the latest as I sometimes am. So what's been going on? There's been a lot of Mandelas, not a lot of personal Mandelas, like little ones in the buildings though. There's a big building they built for housing a while back that had an interesting architecture. They kind of just made it a little nicer than a lot of them. And I was going by that, and it looks different, and the paint color is different. Okay, so I'm like, well, did they repaint it all in like one day? Because it's a really big building, and the color that's different is like 3-4 stories up. So I'm like, were they really actually able to do that all in one day? It seems unlikely to me. It's not impossible, but I drive by it every day. Then also there's like these weird windows at the top that I just have never seen before. So, I mean, they're not that weird, but they're weird because I never saw them before. So I'm really suspicious about that building. I can't say for sure, but okay. So one thing that's definitely been weird that I noticed the last few weeks is I go walking around the area a little bit, not extensively, but I take the same route over and over. And it's kind of the route where you don't get run over, basically. And I noticed I have a lot of oak trees around, and so do all the neighbors. And this year, starting a few weeks ago, I noticed that there was like this mildewy stuff growing on a lot of the young leaves. I've never seen that before. Now, keep in mind that right around now, every year for like 25 years, I have to go out there and cut back everything so that the fire department will not complain about any fire hazards. So I have to keep the trees a certain distance from the road, and then the trees that do overhang have to be cut a certain distance in height, and some of them have to be skirted. And so I'm out there every year right around now, sometimes for weeks off and on, getting all this done. And so I've never in my whole life seen mildew on any of my trees out there. And I mean, granted, it's rained a lot this year, but it hasn't rained more than ever since I've been here. And it's not raining a lot in the last month. So, but yet this is when I'm seeing all this mildew, which also is really getting me. I kind of think I wouldn't have been as shocked if I saw it in the middle of winter, but it's, so it looks kind of like this. It's very, at first it was just a bit, but in a very short period of time, this is not actually a photo of my specific stuff, but it looks just like this, minus the ferns. So I did a lot of looking, and it is in fact powdery mildew. I was like, is this going to kill the tree? What is this crap? Usually it won't. But, you know, it's not even just in the shade. Like, we have this one tree where some branches came down, and we were thinking of eradicating the tree because it was such a pain. And we cut all the big limbs off because, like, half of them had fallen, and we're like, we thought it was going to be dead, but it's, like, all bushing out from the trunk, which I'm a little surprised for an oak tree. And, like, half the new leaves have this powdery stuff on them, and it's right in the middle of the sun. The sun beats right on it. It's not near any other oak trees, and yet it's covered with this crap. And then the weird thing beyond that is that I noticed the last 2 weeks, the growth right there where the powder is got real weird. So it looks like flowers almost, because it's, wait a minute, where is it? Here. It's like this. It's like they're all stunted, but then there's growing out like this huge ton of branches. So I'm like, it's actually mutating the tree. And I guess that's a thing now, that it causes, like, powdery mildew disrupts the growth pattern and causes witch's brooms, which is basically a whole bunch of new twigs grow out from the same spot like a broom. And I'm not exactly sure where I found that, but I did find it on several of the explanations that you have to kind of dig. But so it kind of looks like this, but there's more of these. So it looks like there's all these weird whitish powdery flower structures, like all over the sides of the trees, just everywhere, because they're just suddenly white like this. So it's bizarre. I've never seen it before. It's on every last tree that I can see has this, like, everywhere. I think this is the first year of it. And one thing I've really noticed is that the first year of a lot of stuff, there's a lot of it. Like the first year that there was ever fuzzy caterpillars here a couple years ago, there were millions of them. I'd never seen a single fuzzy caterpillar, then there were millions. And consecutive years, there'll just be a few and a few. So I don't know what it is about when stuff shows up, but it shows up with a bang, it seems like. And also, yeah, here. See, it very much looks like some kind of fuzzy flower growth thing coming, and it's these. So, yeah, I don't know what it's all... it mentions the witch's brooms, but there's very few photos that really show that. So I don't think it's, like, totally in the timeline yet or something, because they're very weird. Anyway, so one of the latest new plants for the area. I think I'd be more worried about it if I hadn't really kind of seen how this stuff just happens like this. How long have you known Polaris was more than 2 stars? North Star. Yeah, Polaris. Isn't it like 5 or 6 now or something? We had that one on a few years ago, and that was the first I'd heard of it. You guys found that one. I heard it from people in Iran. They were complaining about censorship and not being able to delete the app. So you can't just, like, it's a supply. It's both a censorship and a spyware. Energy was very strange today. Yeah, I'm actually feeling all right today. I was kind of tired a couple days ago. There was a flood somewhere in California, not sure where, but I've seen pictures of mansions. Okay, what I heard was there hasn't been that much rain or anything, but basically somewhere in LA area, there was a hillside that just began sliding. It's kind of weird that it did it now, because usually it does do it like right after the rains or something. And it is not unusual, because if California just has so many hillsides, it's bigger than a lot of countries, and there's millions of hillsides, and everybody built on them. and every now and then one of them suckers slides. So that's basically what's happening there. I do have questions sometimes about whether they really check stability of the Earth properly, especially in some of the newer constructions. Like, for instance, they pay off the city council, and then the city council has been approving less and less well thought out plans, I've noticed, in the recent decade or so too. So that might be part of it. But yeah, sucks to be on there. Hopefully they have good insurance. Usually those areas are pretty wealthy homes also. Do you remember massive rains and flooding here in Los Angeles County in 95 to 98? I think that might have been one of the big rains. I'm trying to think. I was here not super long after I moved here. There was a high rains, like another, they called it El Nino then. And it did rain for like 4 weeks in a row, which is a lot here. A lot for us. Because the ground here is just not used to that, you know. I'm one of the Sagittarius people who remembers the Taj Mahal having a gold roof. Definitely. Entire Nevada being a desert. Yes. Las Vegas did not have a lake. I agree with you. Adidas being Adidas. Darn it. I'm not sure on the Adidas one. There was even a tornado near my high school in senior year, but the weird thing, it only went after the lucky super. I don't remember there being any tornadoes in California until recently. So originally, their like water spouts showed up, and frankly, I'm a little suspicious of those. But it was a long time ago when I first heard about those. But they would always die before they got on land. And then somewhere in the 90s, there was a thing like, oh, for some strange reason, this one water spout didn't totally die, and it ripped off some shingles on a house and threw some patio furniture around. And that was like a big deal. And then in consecutive years after that, you'd hear about that kind of thing happening occasionally. And now we have tornadoes. Mr. MB, it's still MBB 333, right? It's not MB 333. There better be another B in there. Go see. Has plant leaves moving by themselves, and also weird plant growth. I'll have to check out the plant growth. So the leaves moving by themselves, now theoretically it could be that it lines up perfectly with the wind and kind of gets an oscillation thing going. But I do agree that there's been a few too many of those that you kind of feel like maybe something is brewing there with that. Lucky's being destroyed by the tornado reminds me of Dan Winter talking about the elementals being in pain because of the GMO food and inbred angry bitter DNA. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really starting to just suspect that a lot of it is just storylines that we develop, and that a lot of reality is a manifestation of our inner turmoils and growth and those kind of things. But I do think, you know, whatever happens is supposed to happen. It's just part of the growth, and so that's just my personal route lately. I'm just less likely to. I know that's a really popular right now to kind of portray humans as like this pestilence on the earth, and that we're ruining everything and like that. And not saying that we're all perfect, certainly, but I have a suspicion that we are actually integral part of the development, and a driver of a lot of the development that we're seeing. And part of that is because if we see all the animals and stuff, a lot of the new creatures, there's stuff that's the kind of thing that we find interesting, that they're kind of stuff about from our dreams, nightmares, and fantasies. And it really seems like it's coming from our imaginations, a lot of these creatures. In fact, all the ones I'm seeing, you know, it just seems like they're that we were heavily involved in the development of those new creatures. Another Emmy got a name, harmonica. When Benjamin Franklin invented this mechanical version in 1761, he called it harmonica, based on the Italian word harmonia. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. First they come in and they're like some weird instrument, and then they get a name. Live chat. You know, I always do it and I don't even know what the difference is. I'm like, okay, if you say so. Yeah, I don't remember Benjamin Franklin having anything to do with creating musical instruments. So I'm like, okay, whatever, Mandela. My mom's fruits lasted months in upper middle class neighborhood. Wax like foods. Okay. Well, that would be nice if homegrown stuff would last longer. I would have very much appreciated it. And that's kind of goes in a little bit with that weird grape storage where they were storing them in those clay, sealed clay bag container thingies. So maybe that would be really convenient if we could have homegrown food last longer. And then the storyline could be, well, the reason it went bad is because of poor husbandry practices by the food industry or something. The letter A is weird in this time died. Yeah, the A became like, it misses its cross piece, so it's like an upside down V. That was one of the earliest Mandelas that we were talking about. Was it like 2016? A lot of the logos changed to always having, oh, years. That's that weird thing. I think we've had that on before, this weird harmonium. Did we have this one on? I'm not sure. We've had so many on now. Actually, I'm not 100% sure we've had this funky thing on. All right, I'm going to play a second or two of it. Anymore, and it's copyright strike time. I think you can jump ahead. You know, I don't think I've had that exact beast on, or at least it didn't look exactly like that when I did. So I'm kind of getting to the point. It's kind of like the birds and the fish. It's like, there's so many new ones. I give up. Yes, I agree with the AE thing. I did not have the A encyclopedia with the AE. There were no such thing as AEs for me before, at least not in like my language, not in the UK language. Moon has been in the wrong position a couple nights. Now it's in the northern winter position. You know, I haven't watched it close enough, so I don't know on that one. We had this harmonica on before, but it had no name. I don't know. It just seems like it's a little bit more weird looking than I remember last time. Like I don't know. I feel like that the actual shape of it is a little different. You have to be careful not to get injured from playing one of those. Discs can shatter. Oh, interesting. So now you have to be brave, too. You're going to have to wear, like, safety goggles or something. All right. So what's up? Okay. So that's some local stuff. I think that's all. I did just run into a bunch of stuff. One of them was this. So I think I've said before that when I grew up, there was no concept of Gaia. That showed up somewhere in the later 90s for me, and it was kind of a theory with no evidence at first. Like maybe we came from this supercontinent called Gaia, and it kind of just sounded good. And then at some point I realized it's actually a theory with science. Now they actually say that that was the case. But last time I checked, it was just that we came from Gaia, like the continents came from a solid one. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I was kind of like, well, that just seems kind of weird, you know, like how did there just be one? And I don't know. So, but now I'm looking at it, and it's a cycle, and there isn't just Pangea or Pangaea or however you want to say it. You know, it's funny because I thought it was Pangea, but now it looks like it's got that AE. Speaking of AEs, Pangaea. Um, how are you supposed to say Pangea now? I thought it was Pangea. Did we talk about that last time? Now it's Pangaea. Let me just see if I can find that. Pangaea. No, I think I spelled that wrong. Giai. Pangaea. That's it. Okay, Pangaea. I have it backwards. I'm going to just see how they're pronouncing this thing. Panzea. Panzea? Panzea. Is that really it? Pangea, also Pangaea. Panzea? All right, Britannica, how do you say it? I remember it originally being called Pangea. Pangaea, from Greek Pangaea. Hypothetical protocontinent, proposed in 1912, supposedly covered about half the Earth. All right, it's not really given me. Okay, let's see. Listen, no, that's the whole article. I just want pronunciation. All right, I'll give it one more try and then I quit. All right, I don't know. Panzea? That doesn't sound like anything I've heard. Oh, yeah, ether. So, A-E, ether. It used to be just E-T-H-E-R for me, not aether. It's still ether, but it didn't have the A on it for me originally. So yeah, now it's Pangea or Pangaea. I don't know the new pronunciation. It's Pangea is the only pronunciation I've heard. Gaia is Mother Earth. Um, yeah, no, the supercontinent is Pangea. Pangaea. So this is supposed to be the supercontinent we came from. Map of Pangea. And you could see like there's Africa here. So this one's kind of interesting because we've seen the shape of the continents kind of alter a little to fit into this, that it didn't, the shapes of like South America molds right into Africa. And we were already seeing this before anybody even looked at this old Pangea map. But now the story is that the continents split apart and then they smoosh back into together in a supercontinent and then split, and then there's a whole cycle and they call it the supercontinent cycle, which I've not heard of before. And before, so Pangea is the most recent one, and then before that apparently was Valbara, Archean supercontinent consisting of blah blah blah, I don't even know what the heck. And then there was Ur is a hypothetical supercontinent 3,100 million years ago. And then there was Kennerland. And that's a shape of Kennerland, I guess. There was Columbia. And that's the shape of Columbia. Rodinia. I don't know. That doesn't look like a supercontinent, though. I mean, there's separate ones on that, so I'm a little confused. Pannotia. How can it be a supercontinent when there's not? It's not all one piece. I'm calling bull on that. But also known as the Vendian supercontinent, Greater Gondwana, and Pan-African supercontinent. was a short-lived neo-proterozoic supercontinent. Okay, so there are varying opinions as to whether the amount of continental crust is increasing, decreasing, or staying about the same, but it is agreed that Earth's crust is constantly being reconfigured. One complete supercontinent cycle is said to take 300 to 500 million years. Continental collision makes fewer and larger continents, while rifting makes more and smaller continents. So, the way they're talking about this, it sounds like it's just an agreed upon fact that these things happen now. It's, it's not like some people think blah, blah, blah. So, okay. Pangea. Well, that's how I remember it. But they're spelling it like Gaia. So you had, yeah, I don't know. Rubik's changed to Rubik's, then Rubik's, and now it's Rubik's. Oh, it's Rubik's Cube. Okay. So for me, it was CK, wasn't it? Rubik's Cube. Yeah, it was CK, Rubik's Cube. Rubik's Cube, Rubik's Cube. I'll type it in the way I remember it. Yeah, the C is missing. It's like Chick-fil-A, the C is missing. So this timeline likes its K's, I guess. How to solve a Rubik's Cube. Interesting. Yeah, it definitely looks like the C is gone now. Rubik's Cube. So yeah, that's what one of the reasons I was bringing it up. It looks like we're going back to Pangea, basically. All right, I'm sticking with Pangea. That's what you remember. Just that spelling does not look like it's the same. And then the one pronunciation I found looked like Panzea. Panzea, I don't know. You can tell it leads to political changes like Germany getting a coast, and then we got hit with Black Tom, Torpedo Alley. Yeah, with everything closer together, it makes sense that Europe was able to get here a little easier and stir up more problems during the war. Okay, yeah, okay, computer. We should come up with like something like the millennials were using okay boomer. We use like okay Mandela, like whatever. Maybe because I'm Gen X, I like that. Like whatever, people don't. Listening inside an ancient cordless radio that I found in a dream. I think you mean you found it. Has tiny electric bolts that appear when you crank a strange lever. Seems to be made of crystallized sand. So the old radios, or they called them crystal radios, they used like silica crystals. So they really were, I mean, sand is made out of silica, and silica crystals were like, that was like a crystal radio. It sounds like in your dream it was something like what they called a crystal radio. Guess what? I checked, and German U-boats attacked Florida in 1942, killed 800, sunk ships. Like 800. I think, did we not have that on? I don't know if we had that specific one. I did see a lot about they sunk some ships around Florida, and that was on a while ago, but I don't remember 800 people. So that might have been kind of an upgrade from the previous ones, or a growth from that. List of sunk ships by submarine. Death toll. October 1942. Lost during October. Just one World War II. So let's see. That's Panama, Germany, Sweden, Japan, blah, blah. United States, Caribbean Sea. That's near Florida. So there was one. That's just 1 month, though. That really doesn't give that good of an answer. All right, let's see. All right, I kind of give up. I just realized I could be looking forever. It's not on. It's not going to be that easy to find, maybe. Torpedo Alley? Is that like Tornado Alley? Torpedo Alley, World War II. Let's try that. Torpedo Alley. I don't think I've ever heard of Torpedo Alley. I've heard of Tornado Alley. Off North Carolina. Named for the high number of attacks on Allied shipping by German U-boats in World War II. Almost 400 ships were sunk, mostly during the second happy time in 1942. The second happy time? What in the F is this? A phase in the Battle of the Atlantic during which Axis submarines attacked merchant ships and Allied naval vessels. The first happy time, this is craziness, was in 40 to 41. What in the bleep? So who named that business? When Adolf Hitler and Mussolini declared war on the United States on 11th December 1941. And as a result, their navies could begin the second happy time. German submariners named it the happy time or the golden time as defense measures were weak and disorganized, and the U-boats were able to inflict massive damage with little risk. During this period, Axis submarines sank 609 ships. Holy crap! That's crazy time. You know, I still remember that there was a time me and a friend of mine would just walk up and down the coast near me. Like, we started at one beach and we'd walk as far as we could, and then the next weekend we go to the spot we left off and then walk further. And then of course we'd have to walk all the way back to our cars, right? But we basically, our plan was to walk along the coast in this area like as a project and just see like all of the coast that was walkable. And we definitely did visit some old like areas for like set up during World War II, and there were the little informational kiosks, and they definitely said, you know, that there was a time when we feared that the Japanese could make it here, and so everybody was paranoid, and they used the word paranoid because it didn't happen. Like, it turns out, you know, none of that ever happened, and the whole attitude was like, haha, we were so paranoid and it was silly and they could never get this far. But it's not at all paranoid now, because apparently they sank 609 ships off the coast of Florida. Holy crap, during the happy time. Oh, I gotta write this one down. The first and second happy times of World War II. That's crazy. Yeah, I think I just heard a few ships last we checked. It wasn't like 609 ships. So it led to the loss of thousands of lives, not just 800. Probably more. That many ships. America's second Pearl Harbor. Oh my gosh, that's crazy time. Yeah. No, I definitely never heard of that. 609 ships. I'm still kind of reeling a little bit for that. That is a lot. Hitler ordered an assault on America on December 1941. Type 7 submarines were successfully able to patrol off the eastern seaboard of North America. Due to refueling, rearming, and resupply logistical support by Type 9 submarine tender. The only suitable weapons he had on hand were the large Type 9. $609 ships. Okay, so 609 sunk along eastern seaboard. Mainly merchant mariners, but only 22 U-boats did all that. So 1/4 of all ships sunk by U-boats during the entire Second War were along the eastern seaboard of the United States now. Because King also refused British offers to provide the U.S. Navy with their own ships. The belated institution of a convoy system was large in part due to a severe shortage of suitable escort vessels, without which convoys were seen as actually more vulnerable than lone ships. Huh. Okay, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I do remember the Bataan Death March. That was that Japanese march. They made a movie on that. Probably half the movie now is common misconception, but... Alright, I'm just writing down this one because that is a lot of ships. After Germany got their coast, they went rampaging through history. You know, it does make sense. They have a coast, so they probably... Oh my God. That is actually very logical, though, isn't it? It's very logical. They got a coast, so they probably had a much better army. Let me get my water. Hold on. I mean, they probably had a much better navy, would be the right word, navy. It would make total sense for them to have put a lot more effort into the navy if they had a coast. It's impossible to speak of the Mandela without sounding crazy. All right, let's see. I'll check Shari's. I don't know if it's a different one or not. This is the battleground of Operation Drumbeat and the continued German U-boat strikes throughout the war. This map does not include the boats scuttled there post-war. Okay, yeah, that is a lot. And they're right. So, you know, look, they're right in here, all along New York. So, you know, once you have this, fearing coastal attack is not weird at all because we were under constant coastal attack. 42, 43, 44, and 45. And it really sounds like there was a lot more than that. Okay, so there's the U-boats that were lost. Or no, these are the U-boat strikes. U-boats lost off the U.S. coast. Okay, so that's the U-boats that we whacked then, right? I think if I'm reading this correctly. Ships hit by the U-boats. Okay, holy chihuahuas. Okay. So yeah, we whacked that many and they whacked this many. That is a lot of ships. I guess they would call it the happy times for them. I have never heard of that. That's crazy. That truly is crazy. Something about seeing it graphically represented like that. I'm thinking this, yeah, that's a lot. Then I saw this. I'm like, oh, holy cow. And I do know that they did have some incursions up in like the Alaska area now in the current timeline. There was a few little attacks on California. So, wow. The Battle of Los Angeles. Seriously? Now that's not that thing where they lobbed a couple bombs and missed and then nothing happened, right? That might be that one. Oh, that's that one. Okay. That's the one where they saw weird crap in the sky. And that one, when did I first hear about that? Like 8 or 9 years ago. And they're saying it's like UFOs. And other people are saying it was nothing. And people just freaked over nothing. And then somebody, what? Now somebody said it was a weather balloon. Aliens, Japanese, or a weather balloon, you decide. Naval intelligence issued a warning that an attack on mainland China could be expected within the next 10 hours. That evening, many flares and blinking lights were reported from the vicinity of defense plants. This is interesting because I don't remember anything about this warning of an attack. Last I checked this thing, it was just that there were sightings of things flying around and we shot at it and then nothing happened. And then other people said, yeah, you were shooting at nothing. Then someone said there was a false alarm due to anxiety. Oh, it was censorship. I don't know, because now, no matter what happens, then they'll just say the press was making it up. I mean, so there's just like no way to really even figure out what happened. Zebras have stripes to camouflage. And yeah, how come they're not like dirt colored if they want to camouflage? I remember at the beginning, the West Coast, yeah, there was a couple little piddly attacks. Like, there was like one on California, and that was really weird, but it was like just kind of a dud. They sent a sub, the sub labbed some crap. They missed. It was dark. And then all of a sudden we started hearing stuff about Alaska. And then there was the Black Tom thing, but that wasn't like a sea-based attack. It was somebody snuck over there and did that. But yeah, then I started hearing about a few U-boat attacks along the East Coast. But as you said, there wasn't like 609 of them. Sagittarius is now called Sagittarius Carina. Yeah, I know. There was no Sagittarius Carina originally. That one's been around for a while, though. Scutum Centaurus. Yeah. So it gets so confusing because there's like three versions of the galaxy now, and they keep changing it, and then you're like, which map am I even looking at? Kingsland explosion. I think this one has been on. It's, you know, the more it changes, the harder it is to remember because there's just so many. You got to remember the old way, then you got to remember like the different versions of the new way as it develops. All right, so a shell, they're saying a shell did go off. The hero of the Kingsland explosion, foreign sabotage on American soil, German spies sent terrified workers fleeing across the frozen Hackensack River. Thanks to McNamar's bravery, nobody died. Oh, I don't think we've had this one on. The bombing at the edge of the Meadowlands came 6 months after a massive explosion on Black Tom. Both attacks were part of a campaign of covert bombings at chemical factories and ammunition depots across the United States. I don't think we've had this one on. The attacks combined with Germany's sinking of the Lusitania in 1915. Sneezing. Excuse me. I haven't had one of those in a while, but the attack still resonates. Yeah, no, I don't think this has been on. So it was a bombing by German saboteurs. Kingsland explosion. I have to say, I'm surprised that there wasn't more. I had used to be surprised that there wasn't more of stuff like that because they didn't have very good control of who comes in and out of the United States. So pretty much anybody could get on a boat and just dress normal and come over here. And if they spoke pretty good English, then nobody really know. If they paid them enough money, they could probably find some American willing to do the job. I mean, there's always going to be sociopaths. Artillery shells fell into homes and businesses and ignited fires all over town. More shells destroyed the Lackawanna Railroad's Boonton line, which ran within 300 feet of the plant. All right, so reading it real quick, it sounds like they set off an explosion, which, you know, set off more explosions, and then all heck broke loose, but nobody died, at least in the current timeline. Memories of Kingsland explosion faded, but never died. Yeah. Memories never died. They never existed. Haas avocado is now Haas, as in hate. Haas just reminds me of ASS. I don't know. I think it's because the pronunciation was Haas before, and now it got pronounced when he came over. They put it 2 S's and 1 A instead. Orion has 2 belts. Orion arm. Okay, yeah, the balloon bomb. I do remember at first they sent the balloon bombs, but nothing happened. And then a few years ago, one of the balloon bombs had killed somebody. That whole balloon bomb thing is totally bizarre to me, though. I mean, like, you just send bomb. I mean, like, what are the chances? The balloons would even make it over the ocean. Wouldn't they just fly all over the world and bomb like everybody? The sun is now next to something called the Gum Nebula. Oh my gosh. Look, it's been an hour. We haven't even covered anything. Gum Nebula. Okay, wait. The Gum Nebula expands. Okay, I've never heard of it. The Gum Nebula over snowy mountains. Okay, so what? So you could see it from here. Oh, what is this? This red crap? That's the Gum Nebula? The hell? An interstellar expanse of glowing hydrogen gas frequently evades notice because it spans 35 degrees over 70 full moons. Well, much of it is quite dim. This featured spectacular 90-degree wide mosaic, however, was designed to be both wide and deep enough to bring up the gum. Visible in red on the right, the image was acquired late last year with both the foreground and the background, including the Milky Way's central band. What in the hell? So I guess this is coming into the timeline. The Gum Nebula. So what is it going to look like? Chewing gum or something? Huh. Okay. The Gum Nebula. First I've heard of it. Now there's a monument for the balloon bomb. Of course there is. The Mitchell Monument, where 6 people were killed by a Japanese balloon bomb. Was it? It was her and her kids, I think. I'm kind of curious what it looks like. Is it going to be her or is it going to be the bomb? Okay, so it's just like a cairn. A cairn with a plaque. Yeah, I think I've seen that on here before, this thing. It looks a little familiar. Then again, like it looks like 100 other monuments, so I don't know. This is the only place on the continental United States where Americans were killed by enemy action during World War II. For now. For now. Then eventually it'll be, oh, this is the only place in such and such state where Americans were killed. This is the only location on the West Coast where people were killed. I bet you there's a good chance it'll change. It's just a bomb, yeah. So for me, originally, that nobody was killed. There may have been a time when it was just her, but then it was her and all the kids. So it started getting more sad. I mean, did the people, did they even exist? Was there like, now are we in a whole nother timeline with a whole nother past and this family really died? Or is it just a story in the ethers? That's one thing that when this stuff happens, I'm like, I hope it didn't happen because it's kind of sad, but. Okay, the Gum Nebula. Now, let's see. Orion Spur map. Are we still called the Orion Spur? I don't know. It's Orion Arm, the Orion Spur. Okay, let's see. Open image in new tab. Gould Belt. What the hell is that? Oh, the Gum Nebula's on there. Of course it is. Vela Molecular Ridge. What? Okay, here's the sun. This is interesting. So I kind of remember something kind of transiting through like this, and that was kind of where the sun was. But now it's clearly on whatever this thing is. All right, it's definitely not on Sag, because they're saying Sag goes this way, Sagittarius. So this is, what is that then? Perseus transit? What the hell? What are we even on then? Is it the Orion Spur now, or? This is interesting, because over here, like, we look like the main arm, and this looks like an offshoot now. Wait a minute, Sag. Wasn't Sag... Weren't we, like, for a while nowhere near Sagittarius? Now we're, like, really close? What in the heck? There's something really different about this mess. New tab. Now there's so many dots here, I can't figure out anything. Perseus transit, Rosette, Nebula, Orion Nebula, Gum Nebula, Vela Molecular Ridge again. The heck, there's a lot of difference. I don't remember like half of this stuff. Try like a bar core. What the heck? All right, the sun is here, Orion Spur. This is Sagittarius. Scutum Centaurus. So we're really close to Sag now. Man, it looks like it's all scrambly from last time I looked. Try this one. Sol, that would be us. Chiron 2. Alpha Centauri Mandolia? Wait. This, I don't even know what, this must be some kind of video game thing. I don't think that's even us. You know what I'm not finding is very many of the... Okay, there's the Scutum Centaurus business. Norma Arm. Near 3 key. I think this is a more recent one. All right, Scutum Centaurus. So what's this one then? Sagittarius. Sun is on Orion Spur. Outer arm. All right, I don't know. See, it gets so confusing because there's so many different maps. It's like the Mandela knows how to confuse us. Yeah, the Gum Nebula. Dolly had braces. Well, that we could agree on. Sag. So, like, I thought we were on Sag before, and then we got really far from Sagittarius, right? I don't remember us, like, being just, like, a stone's throw from Sag. For a long time, we were really far. And, well, oh, Sagittarius is way over there, but now we're, like, right next to Sag. So now it looks like we didn't move so much. Only the very end of the Sagittarius arm was on the other side. Now we were close to the beginning of the Sag. So we're like, The other thing is, did we get closer to the center? I'm wondering. Sagittarius. Yes. Let's try this one. All right. So this 3K PC has gotten a lot bigger. And then it turns into Perseus. And that's Carina Sagittarius. All right, so we're on really close to Carina Sagittarius, and there's Orion, and that's us. Yeah, so we're really close to Sagittarius now. Then Perseus. Wait, what were we close to before? What the heck is Crux Scutum? I've never heard of Crux Scutum before. That's a whole new observation. Shadow of GC. Is this like another video game thing? But these look like legit names, though. Crux Scutum. What the hell is Crux Scutum? I've never seen Crux Scutum before. Not that term. I saw Scutum, something else, not Crux Scutum. So it looks like we've had another shuffling. Spiral arms. It's also called... No, it was something Scutum... No, it was Scutum something. It was not Scutum arm. The atomic hydrogen model of Milky Way was described here, was derived by starting with a simple four-arm spiral and then modifying the shape until the results were compatible with the lab velocity survey, radio parallax data. The Centaurus arm. All right, that's going to make me crazy. That's from 2009. Was described here. Let's try getting over there. Mapping hydrogen. Hydrogen shows more detailed. All right, atomic hydrogen model of the Milky Way. And I can't read any of that tiny stuff, which is really bugging me. All right, it's color-coded. There's Centaurus arm in the green. Norma arm goes all the way over. Norma arm is huge now. What is this little thing? Spurs. There's the center bar. All right, this is Sagittarius, this pink thing. I'm thinking we're up here somewhere. Like there? There's a lot going on over here, so I'm thinking that's us here. Centaurus, normal, Perseus, Sag. So where's that other word that I was looking for? Where is Crux? So this might be in our history, but not used now. The Milky Way spiral. Oh, they're just, it's even more complicated. Norma, Scutum Crux. So there's like 100 of these effing things now. Here it's Crux Scutum. Here it's Scutum Crux. Oh, thanks for making it as complicated as possible. Here's Sag. Here's Orion. Orion does not look very connected to Sag on this. So it's kind of on its own now. Perseus. Cygnus. Now, were we close to Perseus before? I thought there was something else in here. So it looks like they wrap around more, basically, now. They go around and around and around more, at least on this one. Sag used to be closer to the outer edge, but we're on the tail end of Sag on the other side. Let's see what Shari found. Crux scutum. I do not remember this word crux. That's Norma. Karina Sag. So Karina Sag goes right here, and then our solar system really looks quite disconnected now from the arm next to it. Perseus arm is way out there. I don't remember us being near Sag, though. Was it Perseus that we were near? I think we were near Perseus before. James Webb Telescope just found the location of the Big Bang Theory. You mean the location of the suspected Big Bang? You know, it's hard to take any of space seriously when it just scrambles around. Webb and Big Bang. No, Big Bang is not broken. Last I checked it, they were saying the Big Bang Theory was outmoded and not accepted. NASA's Webb identifies the earliest strands of the cosmic web. Started out tenuous, became more distinct over time as gravity drew matter together. Okay, so where is it then? The earliest strands, what it would be in the center, wouldn't it? One would imagine. Okay, well, if you find out anything, let me know. So I do remember originally, yeah, it was just Sagittarius, but we've gone through a bunch of versions of these maps. And like I said, every time there's another shift, there's like more different, and then, oh, this is, so now what I'm seeing, oh, this is the hydrogen theory of, and then this is such and such theory. And it looks like it's just getting more and more helter-skelter. All right, so we got that. Oh, no, like I'm hardly even making any progress on mine. You guys just keep adding stuff. Okay, I'm gonna start from the bottom then. Okay, so we're in a new place in the galaxy, or the galaxy is in a new place around us. Take your pick. I really do kind of want to go. All right, we still look like we're sort of in the middle, though. The thing that gets confusing is this bar just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's like we're getting closer to the center because the center is getting closer to us. All right. So I ran into this one on Redcon, or on, not Redcon, on Reddit. That was really easy to find earlier. And that's also the thumbnail, are these oarfish. So when these things first came up, they were just long and skinny. So they look like an oar. But now they've got all this pretty stuff on the fins. They're sort of looking like one of those Chinese dragons or something. They got like these dangly red things. But the other thing I've noticed is that at least some of them now are mirror silver, like a sword. So they're really looking awesome. But I definitely don't remember the red dangly bits originally. I think there's a multiple kinds now, but I mean, really, it looks like something that the Chinese, in like Chinese graphics or something. But I saw something. Let me see if I can find that darn thing. As you can see, they're quite large. But a video came up that showed that they're like mirror silver. Of course, now I can't find it. Found it 10 times earlier. Or fish. Images. This is it. Doinks. This was interesting on multiple counts. First of all, it's got these holes in it that they're saying are those cookie cutter sharks that chomp out cookie circles out of poor unsuspecting creatures. All right, but this video, basically there's a big oarfish. Is that the one? Yes. He's going to come over here and poke it, and you're going to see that his hand is perfectly reflected in this mirror finish. It is like a swimming mirror now. It is like a giant sword. So instead of like an oar, it would be like a swordfish, except for we already have a swordfish, so I guess you can't have another swordfish. But look at it. It is completely, you can completely see the complete reflection of his hand in it. And when I looked it up, it does show that they're saying that it is like a giant sword, except for the cookie cutter holes. So you can see that kind of on the thumbnail too, but basically that's the latest upgrade. They've got some dangly bits, some pretty colored fins, and they're, at least some of them are silver like a sword. Yes, sunfish have been on. They were smaller at first and now they're huge. I'm tempted to go look and see what they look like now, but we do have a lot of stuff on the list, so. All right, it has furry and all right, let's just see what sunfish are up to. Now I just have to look. So again, we're kind of in a busy Mandela phase now. So yeah, they've gotten, wait, it's not though, it's these. These are the things we want. The sunfish. So they're saying that these little guys are also sunfish, that ones that you, like the little perch thingies or whatever. But we're looking at these. It's interesting because they've gotten all milky and flabby. Look, it's got cheeks now. Look, they got cheeks. They got cheeks. Okay, yeah. And a little nose. So it didn't have a little nose before, and it didn't have cheeks. It almost looks like, or is this a moonfish? There's two of them now. First there was sunfish, then there was moonfish. They look the same. Oh, does that look like an archetype or what? So it looks like it's going to be a giant face now, like a giant head. This is the kind of thing where I'm like, what is wrong with this one? What's up with all that? All this like crunchy bits in here. I saw a little bit of that last time I looked, but not to that level. This is what I mean when I say, like, I think we have to be involved in the creation of these things, because they're creating like an archetype that really only makes sense. Wait, I didn't want to save that. That really only makes sense according to human aesthetics. I mean, unless animals have the same aesthetics inside their head, because who knows what they're thinking, but it does look like it's growing like a cheek and a little nose. I do not remember this little nose thing. There's like a kind of a brow ridge growing there. And there's like a little ear. I don't think I remember that little ear either. I don't know if they're really going to say that's an ear, but ooh, that one's an interesting one. More colors. So yeah, look, it looks like it's got a saggy cheek there, and then it has the high cheekbone, and then so it's definitely kind of anyway, you can look all day on these things. Zardoz fish. What if animals are gaining human DNA somehow and looking more human? You know, if anything, the DNA is getting more strange, because there's not just like the X and Y chromosomes. It's like there used to just be X and Y chromosomes. Everything had X and Y chromosomes, everything. And male and female. And then now there's all these different chromosomes, like And each different species have different variations, and they're not just two kinds, and they don't just combine like easily. I mean, it's just it's so much more complicated now that I wouldn't have enough time in the day to look into even just a little piece of it. And even if I did, it would probably be that different next week anyways. Okay, here's another one. I'm thinking this might be another one that we're going to have more weird looking humans. So when that vitiligo first started, which is the patchy colors in the skin where you have lack of melanin, and so then it was interesting because a lot of people, it developed kind of bilaterally, so that you would have matching patterns on each side of the face of lack of melanin. Now I'm starting to see something that looks like that also, but they're calling it xanthelasma. And it's like growth of these fatty deposits around the eyes. I thought about making this the thumbnail, but then I'm like, no, it's too creepy looking. Let me just do it in Google, though. So I did the oarfish instead because they're less yucky looking. All right, so we're seeing stuff like this. So what they're saying is that it's like a fatty growth. They don't really know what causes it. A lot of times it's sort of bilateral like this. It goes around the eyes. Each person has a different pattern. They say it's harmless like fat deposits. Now, it's kind of yellowish. And some people it looks really white. Some people it doesn't. There's kind of an image of some of it, but I've noticed that in a lot of people it's very symmetrical down the center. We're just seeing the start of this thing existing now. These are the spots here, and I'm just thinking that we might end up with like not just the coloration changes, but also like weird lumpy growths, and it looks like it's really gonna be like some kind of alien looking thing. All right, I didn't want to do a video, so I'm gonna call it a day here. Okay, so how is this going to develop? Usually around the eyes, not harmful. Correlated with high blood lipids, rare. They say it's rare, but then they say in Western nations, it afflicts between 0.56% and 1.5% of all humans in Western nations. So 1% of people is going to get this, or is getting it. I'm sorry, is getting it in Western nations. That's not that rare. 1% is not rare. I mean, like, MS is, I think, rarer than that, and all kinds of stuff we talk about all the time is not called rare and is less common, I think, than 1% of the population. I have literally never seen this in my life, but they're saying 1% of the population has it. Now, you can have these, like, lasered off, but they say they usually grow back. Okay, so even if everybody has them lasered off, you should see them still growing back and stuff. So, like what? What? So, you know, I keep thinking we're going to be like, have Klingon growths and stuff. So these look kind of creepy now, but I mean, theoretically, if it was very symmetrical and stuff, I mean, it may not look that bad. Even some of these don't look that bad. Which is another thing that I really noticed. I'm like, they're not that horrible looking. I've seen quite a few people with those eye patches lately. Seriously? I have not here. I'm going to be looking now, though. I mean, if I look at 100 people, I should see it, right? On one of them? Like golden eczema. I don't know is that actually a stuff? Golden eczema? Because eczema, for me, it's more like a rash, but it's not like raised, coherent bumps. I'm going to look up golden eczema because I don't... Are you just saying it's eczema but golden? Or is there actually a term golden eczema? Okay, yeah, okay, we don't need to look at those anymore. So eczema, it's a rash, but it's not all like super raised up like that. Doctor Strange in the Eye of Agamotto. I assume that's some kind of fantasy thing. I have those things around my eyes. Found out about it yesterday and got an appointment by dermatologist tomorrow. Well, now you know they're harmless. They are harmless, okay? So there's that. They said they don't injure you. So yeah, it's fresh in the timeline. So it showed up on Reddit. Northern fish in Minnesota now are biting people's toes off. Are you kidding me? Minnesota fish are biting people's toes off. Yeah, I'd rather have those xanthelasmas than have my toes bit off. Minnesota, wait, Minnesota. Ouch. That's not cool, dude. We need to get past the timeline. Muskies. Okay. She was hanging out on a paddleboard in Minnesota. Man accused of biting off cop's finger. Frostbite, camel bites. Wait. Minnesota. Wait. Okay, fish. Let's narrow this down. Fish pedicures. Okay, we've had those on. Muskie attacks. So muskies in Minnesota. Gotta rhyme. It was filleted open. She'd been cut in 25 places, mostly on her upper ankle. 9 lacerations. She could feel her foot in its mouth. She kicked it with her other foot. It released but left a torn up foot. Dang. I'm going to be wearing like some kind of waterproof boots. You'd have to have like chainmail boots or something. The giant water bug known as a toe biter. Fish attack, Minnesota. So it was one. Why is this fish biting swimmers at Mediterranean beaches? Oh, it's global warming. Okay, well, it looks like it's just that one girl got chomped. For now, we'll have to see how that spreads around. So yeah, Shari. Oh my gosh. I'm like, that must be freaky. It's golden color and only saw that when I was looking in the 5X mirror. Ah, interesting. General Sorrow's in. Welcome. So the fish pedicure was like this fish that like nibbles dead skin. So you would stick your foot in there, but it doesn't bite hard enough that you really feel it. It just feels like something's going doink, 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 like I met a cashier that had rippled dashes in her eyebrows. Didn't know if it was natural. Well, if it looked like that, then it was xanthelasma. Now, I noticed it kind of got kind of a nice sounding name. Um, I mean, it sounds like the name of an alien princess or something. So I don't know if, I'm just wondering if that's going to be a new, we got those rings around the eyes, and maybe now we're going to get like around the eye pupils, the colored part of the eye. So maybe we're going to get like nature's makeup with these yellow things. So I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of changes and is like, oh, there's different colors of it. And I've noticed already that there's in the xanthelasma, some people have like more of a yellowish skin tone to it, and some have really white, and some look like they were a little bit more brown. All right, so we got this one is from Sapioid. So I remember that Mercury was the hottest planet, right? Because it was closest to the sun. Well, and the distances of those planets are quite extreme, so between each other. So it's really closer to the sun. And yet Venus, they now say, is hotter than Mercury. And they're saying it's because of the greenhouse gas atmosphere. So the official story now that Sapioid found, so good find. Why is Venus hotter than Mercury? Venus has been very busy. It's showing up all the time in the sky now. When I was looking at earliest videos that were ever made, it used to be that hey roundhouse or roundhouse hey something or whatever, like those people doing a little dance, but now they're sort of like saying that the oldest video is sort of in that roundhouse hey thing that was 1888. It rhymed nice, 1888. But now there's an earlier one, and they're saying it's a photo video. Like, what is it, photo or video? It's kind of like a photo video of Venus transiting the sun. And I think I've had that on before, but I'm like, Venus again is sticking its nose everywhere that it wasn't before. And now it's hogged the title of the hottest planet, apparently. The reason why Venus is hotter than Mercury is because it has thick atmosphere, primarily made of carbon dioxide, which is greenhouse gas that helps retain the heat from the sun. In comparison to this, Mercury has almost no atmosphere, so any heat that beats down on the planet isn't retained. I don't know if it's all symbolic or what. Venus is supposed to be standing for females, and it's getting very busy in the current era. Sapia, I jokingly said that Venus is hotter because that's where women come from, and Mars is cooler because that's where men come from. Yeah, but who gets in the most fistfights and bombs the most crap? It would be you guys. Now, I don't know if that's going to last, because women do definitely seem to have a lot more male attributes in recent reality, but you still, the most like violent crime is still male and stuff. Water shoes are a good thing. So, I do have water shoes, but they only protect against, they're designed to protect against coral that you're stepping on. And they usually aren't even have much protection on the top. It's just a thin mesh to like hold it on your foot. So I don't know if there was like a fish toe chomping fish, you'd need more protection. Are we dreamers in a dream within a dream? I think probably it's something like that. Personally, astrologist scientists found ice on Mercury because comets crashed into its one side, and the sun can't hit the spot where the crater is located, just like our moon. So there's ice on Mercury. Did I have that on last time? I think I had ice on Mercury on. And there's like ice everywhere then. Or was that Venus? Yeah, YouTube has been weird. I was trying to get on, and then it says you have to verify, and then it made me sign in again, even though I was already signed in. And then it like hung on the verification, and then I just like started it over, and it finally let me in. Ice on Mercury. Dang it, there was something weird. I thought it was. I think I had that. There's like so many. My brain is. Yeah, I think we had ice on Mercury. That thing was just a fireball before. So there's like ice everywhere. Remember when water on planets was considered rare? Yeah, not anymore. It's everywhere. Okay, this one is just something I noticed. I've been seeing a lot of images of kitty cats with like different colored whiskers. And there was something bugging me about it. I don't remember there being like some black and some white whiskers on kitties and cats, adults, whatever. And it finally dawned on me like yesterday or something. Now I'm like, what it was before was that for me originally, cat whiskers were sort of clearish. They were a little bit translucent. They didn't really have much color, and they looked a little whitish, but they were just kind of translucent. And that's why there weren't different colored whiskers. No matter what the snout was, the whiskers were always the same. And at some point, and I don't think it was super recently, but in the last year, it's gotten really prominent. They got colors basically. So now there will be some white ones, some black ones, blah, blah, blah. And along with the whiskers, they grew more and more of these other additional whiskers all over their face. And there's some here, and then they get some on their feet. Blah, blah, blah. But it suddenly got clear in my mind what that transition was, that they were long ago clear or somewhat translucent without much color. What about disappearing and reappearing baby cells? I don't know what that is. Can you give me, like, are we talking about like the fetus right after fertilization, or what are we talking about? Because I kind of need a little more info to do a Google search on that. Okay, now this is just a simple one. So with all of that Johnny Depp stuff in the news last year and the trial and all that, and I really didn't know much about this movie, but I heard the name all the time because of that trial and the fact that Johnny Depp was in the Rum Diaries. The Rum Diaries. Now, the only reason I even know about that movie is because Johnny Depp was in it, and they all, well, when he was in Rum Diaries, this happened, blah, 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 blah. And I think that's where he met Amber Heard and stuff. And now it is the Rum Diary. There is no S. And somebody mentioned that on Retcon. It was kind of not the main point of the thing. They were talking about something else, but I saw that. I'm like, that person wrote it wrong or no? And I look it up, and sure enough, it is now the Rum Diary, not the Rum Diaries. And if you look, I'm going to make sure it's still the same because that's how it was a couple days ago. Yes. And the film that Johnny Depp was in, you know, in case you're going to have any argument about the book was different than the film or whatever. They were talking about the film, and the film is called The Rum Diary. And maybe a bunch of people online didn't get the memo or something, but a lot of people think it's still The Rum Diaries. But I do remember seeing written as The Rum Diaries with the IES, and it has never been that now. So that was kind of flipping me out. Every time a newly fertilized woman's egg multiplies, it disappears and then reappears with more cells. Okay. I talked about this the other day and I couldn't find it or something. So I thought they just split via mitosis. We We don't know how the duplication happens of the cells turning into a baby. I do remember just seeing film of the cells like pulling apart, though. I remember seeing video of that, even like in college. How far can female oogenesis egg development? Embryo cells decide their future in only 2 days after conception. You know, I don't think that's going to be easy to find. Maybe if you find like a link to it, you can like post it in the comments or something. Okay, so that one, oldest. Okay, now this is an interesting one. So I was just kind of looking for my own edification about average age of menopause. Like, when can I expect it to happen, for instance? And I've been kind of tracking this because in the old era, I would have already gone through it. And sorry, too much information, but I have it. So, like, when, you know, so I keep, every year I'm like, all right, when is this expected to occur? And the time keeps changing. And so I looked at it a few days ago, and they said, oh, it usually happens between like 50 and 60. And I'm like, well, what the hell, 60? You know, like 60 is still considered in the normal range. And that's not even like, you know, considered an extreme range. It usually happens. And I'm like, and they're, you know, they're saying eggs are still coming out each time every month. So I'm like, well, can you get pregnant then? So apparently, yes, you can. You know, I looked it up. I'm like, you can get pregnant as long as you still having the monthly cycle. They just say it's unlikely. I'm like, okay, well, I know I looked before, and the oldest natural pregnancy was in the 50s. And their thing was they're saying, like, even in the 50s, almost all of them were in vitro fertilization. Like, they took a frozen egg or somebody else's egg and they put it in there. They did not naturally just have it the old-fashioned, old timeline way, right? But now I'm like, okay, if the average menopause happens in like when you're 60, and so the official definition of menopause when I looked like 6 months ago was 2 years of no activity. They say that's menopause. You should be done. Now they're saying it's 1 year only. It was 2 years not long ago. Like, every website said 2 years. It's at 1 year. Okay, it's now 1 year. Every website saying 1 year. Another little Mandela. So if you can have, so 60 would be menopause, then you stopped having it at 59 and 12 months went by. So you'd have been viable for till you were 59. That's still considered in the normal range. So if you can be viable to 59, even if it's unlikely, there should be a bunch of people who got pregnant at 59 the old-fashioned way. And so I look, and sure enough, now the oldest person to have a natural pregnancy the old-fashioned way had it at 67 years old. She got pregnant at 67. Her husband was 68, okay, Shinju Tien. And there were a bunch of people with lesser ages, too. So it wouldn't be just like her. Shinju Tien. I think that's enough. Let's see if that's enough to find it. So this ability to become pregnant has really pushed back, like way back. So she's 67, this woman, and she got naturally pregnant, supposedly. I would say it's a big bunch of hooey, but there's, you know, and then there's person, and this person, and this person, and this. And if now you can be easily 60 and not have done menopause, even though it's not the most common, is considered in the normal range, this isn't weird at all, because you're still dropping eggs when you're 60 is in the normal range. That's like crazy town. I know a story too of a woman that bore a child at 52. Not in my timeline. Yeah, I mean, for me, menopause is in the 40s, you're done 50. Strange times for me. So, pretty soon you'd be like having them when you're 80. I mean, 67. Come on, people. Average minimum. So they're saying like 50 to 60 now. So a story of two, a woman who bore a child at 52 used to be from in vitro fertilization. Now, entirely possible by via natural. So they were saying like, okay, well, you don't have any more eggs at 52, but you know, you still can like incubate the baby. So that's how it was when it first came down the chute. Akashic records, to me, my understanding is just basically like you have access to all knowledge. They call it the Akashic records. I don't know if there's really like records on a shelf or anything, but like you could tune into anything that you could basically comprehend. So maybe we're at a new energy age where we live longer, therefore childbirth can come later. Yeah, exactly what I'm thinking. 50 was the latest time for menopause. Yeah, the latest. Now it's like the beginning of average, more like, instead of the end. Didn't Sarah from the Holy Bible get pregnant at 80? Yeah, but that was considered like a miracle. That's the thing. Miracle, like really a miracle, not just unlikely. People are, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not exactly shocked, and that's exactly why I looked it up. I'm like, let's see if that's changed. So, yeah. So, I mean, like, if you still got it, and you're 60, you ain't safe, or well, however you want to look at it. But, yeah, you should take precautions, basically, if you don't want to have kids. Oldest natural, blah. I got that one. Oh, I think I got them all at 150. Supercontinent, yes. Pangea, yes. Powdery mildew, pregnancy, Rum Diaries, Scourge Venus. Yes, I went through a lot of Oh no, I didn't. No, that's last week's. Okay, yes. I got them all. Hopefully they'll be. Sometimes I kind of like leaving a few because then I know next week I won't be like bereft of Mandelas. But hopefully we'll find a bunch of new ones. Yes, we were definitely on the outer edge. I wonder why is there like a circle there? I guess you just posted that circle thing, Austin 108. I was thinking it was sort of like a buffer symbol, but no. Yep, so I think I'm going to go out then. You guys, looks like you're kind of winding down. I have everything covered. For once, I'll be done a few minutes early. Eyes to the skies, record UFO. Okay, just saying a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, sorry, Voynich, we're pretty much almost done. I just had a niece that had a baby at 49. I wonder if she had it in vitro. I mean, it's not always something that people trumpet. All right, anyways, thanks for your info. You guys had a lot of good ones that I was burning through in the beginning half, especially all those U-boat incursions on the eastern seaboard. That's pretty crazy. So thank you. Thank you for all your help, as usual. And you know the drill, think good thoughts, bring good stuff into duality. It's for your own good as well as everybody else. So we want to have that. Thanks, everybody. Think good thoughts, everybody. This is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.